Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, back again today with another one of my video presentation thingamadoodads. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new affiliation that is coming in the Marvel Dice Masters Secret Wars set. The set is due for release any minute now. It's just around the corner. So in this video, I'm going to introduce you to that new affiliation and give you a little peek at some of the cards. So let's not dilly-dally, let's not hang around, let's get into it and let's talk about the Thor Corps. Yes, folks, so the Thor Corps are the new affiliation joining the game of Dice Masters upon the release of the Secret Wars set. The affiliation symbol is up on screen down there-ish somewhere right now for you to take a look at, although we have seen cards already up to this point that have been spoiled that are bearing this affiliation. So it's not like a brand new grand reveal. We knew that this affiliation was going to exist in the set, but they are a super appropriate affiliation to introduce in the Secret Wars set because they are drawn straight out of that source material, the comic book lore from the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars Marvel Universe epic event thing from back in 2015. So they're super appropriate. Now, who are they? Who are the Thor Corps? Well, in the storyline of Secret Wars, there's been a huge multiversal incursion event. And as a result of this incursion event, without going into too much detail, so as not to spoil it in case you ever read it, but Doctor Doom has taken control of this patchwork set of realities that have all been brought together called the Battle World. Installed himself as the God Emperor Doom, who controls all of these different realities, all these different realms that have been drawn together. And he polices these realms. He polices the battle world with a police force that is the Thor Corps. So they're basically just a gathering of all these different kind of Thor-worthy individuals from all the different realities and all the different realms that make up the battle world, and he uses them as his super-powered, like God-powered police force. They are all kitted out just like Thor. They've got the armor. They're all armed up with Mjolnirs and Stormbreakers and, all the various godly weapons. And there's a number of characters who fulfill the role of a Thor as part of the Thor Corps. And they appear quite significantly throughout the storyline, particularly a Jane Foster and a Thor himself through the storyline. So, very appropriate affiliation to introduce with this set. Whether that means that we're then going to see a limited number of further characters joining the ranks of this particular affiliation as time goes on, is yet to be seen. There's one of the things that we've seen with the Thor Corps members in the Secret Wars storyline is a lot of them were Thors that were created in these different Marvel realities, these different numbered Marvel realities from What If, Marvel What If storylines. So there's still hope yet, but it may be quite a self-contained affiliation that you would tinker around with really just in inset play or in draft. So let's take a peek at some of the cards that bear this affiliation, and I'm going to start with Storm. Well, not Storm, the Goddess of Thunder, with the subtitle Thor Corps. Here's the common that's up on screen for you now to take a look at. She's a 2-cost mask with the Storm stat line we've become accustomed to, 021, 122, 132. Got the Thor Corps affiliation, and her game text reads, Goddess of Thunder gets +5 attack while you have another active character die with Thor in the name or subtitle. Now, this means that she is usable with the Infinity Gauntlet Thors, but then she's also usable with any subsequent Thors that may be appearing in the Secret Wars set, either with Thor in the title or the subtitle, which is significant. I've got a Thor to show you a little bit later on, but it just means that there's a wider selection of Thors that you'll be able to use the Goddess of Thunder with. Now, for a cheat character, that's a lot of attack power to put on the board. With the game effect triggered, in effect, she becomes a 7/7/8 attack character, which is not to be sniffed at for 2 cost. However, there are some downsides to that. The condition of having another active character die with Thor in the name or subtitle is going to require a bit of work. The lowest cost Thor that I'm aware of, although there may be yet to be spoiled from this set that may open up a few more doorways with the Goddess of Thunder, but the cheapest one that I'm aware of is a 5 cost. So you've got an outlay of at least 7 to to get that advantage with the Goddess of Thunder. She's also max 2, so you can't really just flood a field with 4 of these Goddess of Thunders, drop a Thor in very quickly, and then suddenly have a huge, shocking... See what I did there? That was unintentional because she's the Goddess of Thunder, and there's lightning in the picture. Anyway, where was I? I'm in the weeds. So you can't flood the field with these Goddess of Thunders, but it does strike me as either a draft-friendly strategy, draft yourself a Goddess of Thunder. She's a common, so it'll be easy enough to get 2 dice for her. Then get your hands on the Thor, that I'm aware of is 5 or 6 cost in this set, and sort of structure a big finisher. So she's not actually your early purchase, she's a later purchase to then drop in the field to really max out your attack capability. So an interesting one. I don't think she's going to make a huge splash in Constructed, but I do definitely think there's some possibility of use in Draft. Next up, I've got a couple of Groots to share with you. Groot is a worthy individual from one of the realms, and I've got 2 rarities here to show you now, the common and the uncommon. The common on your right-hand side of the screen, my left, but you're right, is Skilled Investigator, 5 cost shield, 012, 126, 237 in the stats. He's got the Thor Corps affiliation, and his game text reads, when fielded, roll 2 dice from your bag. And then we've got the uncommon, Groot, Bark and Fight, a 3 cost shield, same stat line, and his game text reads, when fielded, target character die can't block this turn. So the first one, the common, I don't know, 5 cost card of that nature with a when fielded ramp effect, especially when you've got a 2 fielding cost on the level 3. Not something I would, immediately rush towards, but it may be useful if you're trying to churn stuff through that you just bought, if you've carefully managed your bag to ensure that you can churn stuff through that you've just bought very, very quickly. It'll help you as a ramp solution in the draft context that this set is designed for, so that you've got an opportunity within the Thor Corps affiliation. If you're kind of following a line of construction in your draft around the affiliation, then it's a little rampy boost in your mid-game, And let's be honest, 5 costs aren't that hard to get hold of. And I've got, you should keep an eye out, because there's a global that's going to help you do that in set. As well as, of course, stuff like the Dark Phoenix in the Dark Phoenix Saga set. So there's opportunity with it. But the one that catches my eye more is the uncommon. Big old arse stats for a 3 cost shield, which I think is pretty strong. It's a purchase cost that I'd be much more willing to invest for a when fielded game effect like that. Target characters I can't block this turn. It's going to take some timing to use really effectively, and the capacity for success with a rinse and repeat approach there with Bark and Fight. Time will tell. We've definitely seen other characters in the past that are when fielded blocking preventers that haven't really made the splash on the constructed competitive meta so much, but have definitely seen a place in casual play and drafting play. So it's an interesting character. The artwork's great. I think the foil version of that's going to really pop, with all the kind of glowing Thor-y stuff that's going on in the eyes and in the chest. There you go. There's Groot, another addition to the Thor Corps. Okay, next up then we have Stormbreaker Ray. Devoted to Doom. This is the common version of this character. He's a 4 cost shield. Stat line is 146, 157, 278. So he's a fairly beefy boy. He's no Superman or Supergirl, but he's beefy enough. His game text reads, Stormbreaker Ray can't be blocked by character dice with a cost of 2 or less. So I can actually see a bit of a place for this character, although it is quite niche. And again, imagine it will make that much of a splash on the competitive meta, but I can see a place for it. I can see a place for it because what Stormbreaker Ray does with that game effect is he creates situations where your opponent has to make difficult blocking choices. So I'm thinking straight away, you know, like if there's a control piece that your opponent's got on the other side of the table, they're forced into a position where they may have to block with that control piece rather than just chump blocking or weenie blocking their way out of the attack situation. He's got stats big enough to take down some hefty characters as well. You know, an attack with Stormbreaker could kill a Lilandra, could kill a Wonder Woman. Definitely can take out stuff like your super rare spin down Mystiques. You know, he's handy for that type of thing. Or could force your opponent into a position where they've got to block him with their direct damage attack piece. So you could throw him across the field in the hope of them have been forced into blocking with their Jubilee or with their Batman. Now, what that means that they either block and then they've got to KO and reroll that character next turn. With characters like Batman as well, that can be a real sting because of the fielding cost. But it also means that they may decide to let him through, and a hit for 4, 5, or 7 is not insignificant. So I can see a place for Stormbreaker Ray as just like this really annoying kind of thing, like some attack step tricksy stuff that will just interfere with your opponent's plans and make life a little bit difficult with them. And, you know, start pairing him up with stuff like the uncommon Barry Allen from Kryptonite Crisis that lets you do some attack step tricksy shenanigans, or with Wally West, or with stuff that does damage to opponents when they attack. Yeah, there's loads of kind of attack step tricks and treats that you can pull on your opponent. I think Stormbreaker Ray is actually possibly quite a nice yet niche piece to have in your toolbox. So on initial reading, on superficial reading, it's a bit like, I'm not sure. But actually, it's quite a curious bit of potential removal. But if not removal, then he's going through. Chuck a stat buff global on your team or something. Or, you know, throw him in with a rare Barry Allen or a Cable, and that guy's suddenly a lot more frightening. Give him Overcrush or whatever, you know. So, yeah, Stormbreaker Ray. It's an interesting one, that one, that upon further reflection, I'm more interested in. Okay then, now let's get into some Jane Fosters. I've got 2 rarities to share with you today. I've got the common and the super rare. Let's start with the common, Jane Foster Doctor. She's a 5-cost shield. She's got a stat line of 145, 256, 368, which I think, I haven't checked, I should have checked, but I think is the same stat line that the Jane Foster version of Thor had in the Mighty Thor set years ago. And her game text reads, when fielded, gain 2 life, and gain an extra 2 life for each of your other active characters with Thor in their name or subtitle, or the Thor Corps affiliation. Now that's really interesting to me. Life gain, we know, has kind of been one of those sort of strategies that has never really set the world of Dice Masters alight, but that character there has an extraordinary amount of life gain potential if you're playing a Thor Corps affiliated team or you've drafted around the Thor Corps. Just Jane Foster and 2 other Thor Corps characters will earn you 6 life back, which I think is not insignificant, especially mid to late game. So has that got what it takes to really make a difference? I don't know. I mean, can you slow down the steady damage of a Thor, Jormungand's Fear, or a Jubilee, or a Batman, or whatever with that? I don't know. But it just caught my eye. Life gain. You don't see it all that often. When you do, it gives me pause for thought. And also, I've played constructed events with that have been life gain, you know, where you start on 0 life and you have to run your way up to 20. And so cards like that just catch my eye because they're a bit janky, a bit different. They often gather dust, but then in these very specific circumstances, they're worthy of another look. Worthy. God, I'm pun master today. Let's take a look at the super rare then. Jane Foster League of Realms, 5-cost shield. Her game text reads, while Jane Foster is active, reduce damage from opposing characters' abilities by 2. When Jane Foster is KO'd, you may move a fist-aligned character with purchase cost 5 or more from your use pile to your prep area. And then she's got a global where you can pay 1 generic and spin target character die that was fielded this turn up 1 level. Now, this is an interesting one too. I like this one a lot. This is like a really amped up. Well, it's the Iron Fist template, the promo Iron Fist template. In fact, that's basically Iron Fist, but with a little bit more damage reduction tied in. Although we've seen the game text again subsequently on Black Widow Agent and on Mystique. I've forgotten the subtitle. It's the Uncommon in Dark Phoenix Saga. Cards like that are always going to catch my eye because I'm a control player and I love control like this. Reducing the damage by 2, I mean, damage reduction of 1 was always pretty strong with the 3 cards I've just mentioned, but a damage reduction of 2, she's a direct counter to her own counterpart in Infinity Gauntlet, Thor Jormungand's Fear, the super rare over there. She's going to take the wind out of the sails of any Colossus Piota teams. She's certainly going to heavily restrict the possibilities with Batmans and Jubilees and whatnot. There's lots of stuff that pings for 1, but there are a few bits out there that hit for 2 as well, and she'll cover all that ground. She's a nice bit of churn action to get your hands on a fist character with a purchase cost of 5 or more as well, which is lovely. And a global that spins up when fielded for a generic is always, broadly speaking, useful. So why not? You know what I mean? For a 5 cost, that level of control, get a Jane Foster and a Wonder Woman out in the field, and that's some pretty impressive stuff you've got going on there against anything your opponent might want to be doing. So, yeah, I like it. It's just a shame that her fielding costs are so painful, really, but that's the way that goes. But there we are. There's a couple of Jane Fosters for you in the Thor Corps affiliation. And then the last one on the list, I said I was going to show you a Thor today. Here is the Thor of Higher Avalon, God of Thunder. This is the super rare Thor of Higher Avalon. He's a 6-cost bolt. He's got the Thor Ragnarok stat line there from the Mighty Thor set, 153, 164, 276. While Thor of Higher Avalon is active, when you use an action die, deal 2 damage divided any way you choose among up to 2 target opposing character dice. So this is an interesting one. I mean, it's one of those kind of quirky super rares that you're a bit disappointed when you pull it, but it's got a game text that is at least somewhat playable. It's interesting because there's a few little, when you use an action die, bits that have cropped up in the Secret Wars spoilers that we've seen so far. Most notably, Captain Britain, who was in my recent Captain Britain reveal video. So I think the thing is 2 damage just isn't quite significant enough to make me go, wow. And we've also not seen enough of the basic actions from the set to go, oh, is there something that I can rinse, repeat, spam, a cheap basic action that can help feed Thor of Higher Avalon or get me my purchase discount through Captain Britain. But I could see it having a place, a bit of low-level removal power there could be handy if you do pull it in a draft. I know it's the super rare, but if you do pull it, then you could perhaps do some stuff with it. So it's a curious one because it's definitely one of those super rares whereby it's not going to shake the world. It's not a super rare that everybody's going to have their hands on. But if you do get this super rare, at least there's a bit of team building room in it. You know, you can construct some stuff around it and give it a bit of a try. And who knows, if you're rolling, I don't know, green kryptonites, spamming them left, right and centre, and got them rotating round, and you're pinging damage with the green kryptonites and you're pinging damage with your Thor Higher Avalons, you might find you're clearing fields more quickly than I'm imagining right now. So perhaps I'm selling it a bit short. I don't know. I just feel like deal 2 damage is a little bit on the lower side. I mean, this is Thor of Higher Avalon. He's the God of Thunder. Have you not seen Thor Ragnarok on the bridge, on the Bifrost, when it goes down at the end of the film? He drops lightning and kills about 50 of those weird skeleton people. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he's slightly underpowered, really, for what he is and for how much you're paying for him. But that's only one rarity of Thor of Higher Avalon that we've seen so far. There are more to come. So let's wait and see if there's anything that leaps out. Thor Corps affiliated for that character down the line. So there we go then, folks. Just a handful of Thor Corps affiliated characters to whet the appetite and get you excited about the set. There's obviously more rarities of each of these characters to see, and possibly some more Thor Corps characters that we've not seen yet. Just saying. So keep your eyes out in the future for more spoilers coming down the pipeline, or certainly when the set comes out, we'll get to see who the rest of the Thor Corps affiliation is. But I'm a big fan of the themey stuff. I think a lot of those game texts are lovely and themey and on point with who the characters are and what they do. And I think it's just a great addition to the Secret Wars set in particular, because as I said before, it's just stripped straight out the source material. So that's really great and fun to see. So there you go, I'm all done. There's some new spoilers. I'll get those up on the BritRoller6.com spoiler page, gallery page soon enough. So if you want to go take a closer look at those in the context of all the other spoilers that have been revealed so far, then head on over to BritRoller6.com/spoilers, and that will get you to the galleries and you can have a look at those there. Otherwise, keep an eye out on the channel. We've got some more spoiler content coming down the pipeline soon. But until then, I'm Chris. This is the Ministry of Dice. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and we hope to see you around these parts again sometime soon. Take it easy, folks.